So we're learning that on Friday there were shots fired at the Timcast IRL studio at the compound in their property out in the boonies, as they call it, where, this has been going on for years, where they've been terrorized by these people with doxing, swattings even were a big problem, which I think, if I recall correctly, Tim mentioned even compelled them to relocate from their previous property where they had their old studio set up. And this has been a thing, I've been out there before. They've got security teams, like they're very aware of this problem. And obviously with the recent escalations from the left, they're aware of the consequences that it can bring if it's not taken seriously. But this would represent kind of a new peak in that trend, where now there are actually people on their property who are literally shooting at the studio, shooting at the house. And thank God they weren't there at the time, and their security was able to more or less handle the situation and just text them, hey, there was an incident, we handled it. But, this is happening to Tim Pool, who Tim's a good guy, nice guy, but Tim's own audience will tell you, like, this guy is not exactly taking, like, hardline positions on things. And that's fine. They're his positions. It's his show. He can say whatever he wants. But this is not exactly a guy who's like, an ideologue representing some kind of like ideological challenge to organized leftism. I mean, he is very much, anti-war. He's pro-free speech. Like, those positions in and of themselves, I suppose, are representing a threat. And as we'll discuss momentarily, like, these people literally define like evil as anything that is in opposition to their organized global like leftist libtard agenda. So that's fine. But from my perspective or your perspective, we may be scratching our heads where it's like, okay, if it's coming after Tim Pool now, I mean, like, really, what is wrong with these people? How would we address this? And so that's the thing. Tim Pool would be considered like, a moderate. He's like one of these like disaffected, Occupy Wall Street liberals who saw that the left went too far. And so now he runs a show, obviously, where he has conversations, ideas. I've been on it before. I'll be going on it again shortly. So that's great. That's fine. But it's interesting that, it is the people who are trying to have these conversations and who attract the mass audience of people who perhaps with good intentions want to believe that we can converse our way out of this, and therefore we can see these discussions, maybe even participate in these discussions, and eventually we can sort of talk our way out of this whole situation and cooler heads can prevail. I, unfortunately, am not so optimistic these days, and I would even extend that to our more moderate friends on the left, so you may say. I had this conversation around Thanksgiving with some friends, with some family members. Again, maybe I'm a bit too cynical these days. Maybe I'm just in being so. But if you look at like the way the American political system works, we have a two-party system, right? You can vote for Republicans, you can vote for Democrats. Well, I could vote for Libertarians, you can vote for Republicans, or you can vote for Democrats. You have two choices. Or you can opt out. Fine. You can say that neither of these two parties are representing my interests enough for me to want to give the extent of my political participation, which is voting, assuming you're not working in organized politics, you're not running for office. You have a vote. That is the extent by which you participate in American politics. For most people, I think like 50% of people don't even do that much. But for people who are, quote unquote, politically involved, that is what they do. They cast a vote, literally saying one of these two parties is a closer approximation of what I want the world to look like than the other. And if neither are the case, neither are quite doing it for you, you can opt out. And that's perfectly fine. That's your prerogative. Maybe I would make the argument that opting out is itself making a choice, since that is, literally speaking, one less vote that the opposing party would need to win. So, I am a lesser of two evils guy, even though I don't even concede that the Republican Party in its present state is evil. I think we're making great progress. But, like, I would make that argument where it's like, the Republican Party isn't perfect. Okay, but if you abstain your vote, now it is that much easier, however marginally, for Democrats to win. So in a way, like, you're just helping them, which you would claim you would not want to be doing. But anyway, when we see like our Democrat friends or whatever, moderate, when they are still at this point in 2025 willing to support that party, they may be like Bill Maher. They may be these people who are like, I don't agree with all the crazy stuff, and I'm one of the crazy ones who actually thinks we can still talk to people and have ideas. Bill Maher's made a career out of that for like, 30 years or something? Okay, you are still a Democrat. You are still like associating with these people. You are still a slave to their permission structures. You are not willing to step on their toes. The only thing that you will say, which they would maybe roll their eyes at, is that I think we should talk to those people who are crazy. Okay, do you actually like agree with any of their positions? Are you going to treat them with respect? I mean, yeah, you'll have them on your show or whatever, but you still denigrate them, you condescend them, you do all that. And then it gives permission to people who are like you, still voting Democrat, still pretty much willing to go along with all the radical stuff, but they just disagree with the excesses of the environment that they've allowed to metastasize politically, which, like, okay, dude. So, yeah, I have a very sort of like boomer vindicated position, which is that I don't think that the innocent Democrat is even something that we can conceive. I don't think it's possible to believe at this point. If you are seeing not even anything that's been going on politically in the last 7 years that we've discussed at length on this program pertaining to common sense issues, whether it's immigration, abuse of children, whatever you would like it to be. If it is now at the point where mainstream Democrat media is inciting and celebrating the attempted assassination of the more moderate people on the right, and you are still willing to align yourself with that party, maybe you don't agree with all of it, but it is a closer approximation to what you would like the world to be like, and it's actually better than associating with those people over there, those Republicans, because you think those ideas are uneducated, low status, whatever it may be. So you are still very comfortable on the side that has become so radical that is, again, inciting and celebrating assassination attempts. And it's not just like alt media. They don't even have alt media. They just are the media. Their alt media is just media that's not legacy, right? Like the streamer class. Destiny, Hassan, these people do the same thing. It doesn't matter if it's MSNBC, if it's Twitch, Kick, whatever. It is all the same thing. Their job, why they are paid so much, despite in many cases low viewership, is because their job is to rhetorically lockpick their mass audience of insane libtards, hoping that one of them does something insane, does something bad and evil to a conservative. So then that can be sort of written off. It can be justified. It can be, well, maybe he shouldn't have said XYZ. He didn't say XYZ. Well, we played it out of context, so I guess he kind of did, right? So, yeah, I understand that unity is very popular. It's very easy. It's very easy to go and be like Marjorie Taylor Greene and go on CNN and say, can we please be unified? Please leave me alone. Please don't treat me like Charlie Kirk. Is that what you really want from me, John Doyle on Twitter? You want me to be assassinated like Charlie Kirk? No, obviously no one wants that. But we are counting on people like her to forward the agenda to represent the interests of patriots. And the second it gets a little hot, you're going to turn around and desert the cause, go grovel into the arms of the enemy and say, I'm sorry for my participation in toxic politics. What, because you talked about Jewish space lasers? That's hilarious. If anything, we need more of that. It's not toxic. They're the toxic ones. And you know that. You of anyone should know that. But you apologize because you're scared. And you see what happens to Charlie Kirk or to Tim Pool. I'm sure you've gotten your own fair share of death threats. The point being, calling for unity is something you do when there's sort of like an equal playing field, right? And you don't want to just totally destroy each other. You actually can't call for unity if you're the one who's on the back foot, if you are the one with little to no representation, if you are the one who's being attacked and killed, and that is not enough to prevent people from winning office, from being the highest law enforcement officer in a state, or to keeping their shows on primetime television, that kind of behavior. So that's not calling for unity. That is surrendering. That is waving the white flag. That is cucking. And so I have no patience for it. I have no patience for the innocent Democrat hypothesis. I have no patience for calling for unity, which, by the way, is not me calling for further division. Any opposition I have to these people is like in physics, where it's an equal force being applied to an object. Absent the force on me, I don't care. Do your thing. But any opposition I have to these people is only because I have to. We have to defend ourselves. We cannot surrender. We can't wave the white flag. And so when I say I don't believe in unity, that's not because I want those Democrats who are, your moderate types to go to jail or something. I don't hold them morally accountable. I acknowledge that they are NPCs and that it's really not their fault that they believe those things. People are sheep. What are you going to do? However, it is the fault of the people who have put those ideas into their head, who have turned your family members against you, your coworkers against you, made it so you don't feel safe in expressing normal opinions without being socially ostracized, without potentially being physically assaulted, assassinated, and then having all of those things celebrated behind your back, either because you are no longer welcome in these environments or because you're literally dead. Those people need to be held accountable. Those people are the ones who are dividing, who are making unity impossible. Unity is good when we're like siblings, right? We're beating the crap out of each other, and it's like, okay, at the end of the day, we're siblings, right? We can't do this. We're all family. What happens if you're not, though? What happens if I don't owe you anything, you don't owe me anything? We're just opposed, and it's going to be me and it's going to be you. Can you call for unity at that point if you don't have a kind of shared umbrella holding you together because it's been disintegrated from the top down by evil, bad people? Those are the people I'm talking about. I want no unity with those people, no quarter for those people. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the mechanics of why those people need to go. But calling for unity is not done like it's the end of the American Civil War, right? where you call for unity because the country needs it. We need to come together. Right now, we are not in a position to call for unity. We have not won the war. Anyone calling for unity right now is looking for a parachute. They're looking to get off. They want a lifeboat. They realize that this is real. This is a real thing with real consequences. So I don't buy that. And again, when I'm calling for anti-unity, it's not because I want division. I am simply saying the people who are actually responsible for the breakdown of our political climate, of unity, American identity, those are the people who need to be held accountable because they are making the rest of the political project and the rest of what we would understand and love about American society to be impossible.